Hello, everybody. It's your friend James Shaw. Trust you're doing okay. Thanks for spending some time with us today. You know what's so fun right now is that, since the pandemic started, the market has been fascinating. I found it to be very interesting. At first, it did the opposite of what I thought it was going to do when the pandemic hit. I thought things would get a little wonky and kind of fall off the table and stuff would go down. It did the opposite, right? Pedal to the metal, get after it. It was a speed market. How quickly can you do things? But in the last year, it's totally changed. Units are down. Now we're seeing sale price and volume start to come down a little bit. Your skill is getting totally exposed. Your ability to connect with people, truly uncover motivation, and create as many leads as possible is becoming exposed. So what we said we're going to do is bring in. I think this is probably the most elite person in the industry on how to truly connect with people and know what your day should look like when it comes to uncovering leads. And I'm excited to have Anna on. Do you want to introduce yourself to
Thank
everybody?
you. Wow, that was a great intro. Thank you, James.
It's
I feel
true.
super
It's true.
honored. I feel so honored. So my name is Anna Krueger, and I used to be a high school teacher, said I would never, ever do business or sales. And yet here I am, and I love it because I understand when we truly connect with people and help them or even educate them, that's really truly how we have the sales we need. It's really just, I view it, James, like we are real estate coaches when we're buyer agent or inside sales agent, because our job is to listen to their story and then help them get what they want, which is what I'm super passionate about. So I've been in real estate about 10 years. I've been in sales about 20, and I've been coaching now the last 8. So I love it. And I love the connection of helping the community, but also helping the agents hit their income goals. That's what I'm really passionate about.
You're an elite maps coach, and you really help people hit their goals by understanding the process on how to get there.
Yeah.
What kind of effort does it take, and what do you need to say to uncover motivation? And that's really what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
You have a group coaching program through MAPS that you're doing right now. You want to tell people about it real quick in case they might be interested?
Yeah, I do. It's called Mega Lead Conversion, and it's megaleadconversion.com will take you there. And it's a 6-month program designed around everything you need to know, from calling them and making sure they don't hang up on you. So from hello all the way through the signed agreement. So things like, how do you leave a voicemail that gets a call back? How do you leave or set an appointment that actually shows up? And then obviously what we're talking about today, how do you uncover their true motivation? Because James, especially now, I mean, you said it at the beginning of this, we have to know their client motivation to get them to move forward, because people are afraid. And what comes over fear, or what overcomes fear, is their own motivation. So we talk about that a lot in the class. And we also teach the business of lead gen. So we go over things like the economic model. My goal is when people are done, they know how to talk to people in a relationship based way, and they understand the business. They can go to sleep at night knowing the income is coming because I'm doing the right activities, because I understand the business. That's the goal of the class.
It's
So
about consistency over intensity, right? Doing the right
yeah.
things day in and day out. You're really nice. For our Inspire members who are watching, Anna's offering you a little discount code. So we'll put that in the Inspire Facebook group and get it out to you. For
Yeah.
those of you who are in Inspire, if you want to take her program, she's offering you a little discount, which is cool. All right. So I talk to agents every day. You talk to agents every day. I think we're probably hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what are you seeing right now as the biggest hurdles for agents when it comes to uncovering leads?
Yeah, so I think the biggest, oh gosh, there's several things that we could talk about. I think one is we hear them say, I'm not interested right now and I want to wait. And the tendency, it's almost like the knee-jerk reaction is, okay, I'll call you later, I'll follow up with you. So it's really learning how to keep them on the phone, because we have to remember these leads came to us somehow, some way, and they are interested in something, right? And so if we can figure out what that is, and then, so it's really step one is moving past the I'm not interested or I'm nervous right now, moving past that to number two, really getting into the true motivation. Because I'm hearing agents say, I'm getting more objections than I ever have. People are afraid of the economy, they're afraid of the market. And what overcomes that is motivation. And obviously, we have to deal with the objection. But the best way to deal with the objection first is their own motivation. We've all done things that maybe didn't make sense financially, but we were so motivated that we did it anyway, right? I just went on a big 3-week trip, and I'm planning my next one because I want to. It's not financially responsible. It's because I want to. And so we have to help clients understand and remember what their want to is, and then also educate them about the market, because it is still a great time to buy or sell. We just have to educate them.
All right, so we've got to dig for motivation,
Yes.
and they're not lying when they say I'm not interested right now. They just are lacking the information they need. Gary says, I heard him say at family reunion last year, our job is to provide perspective to potential buyers and sellers. So
Yeah.
what are your tips or advice on how to truly uncover motivation, especially when someone says I'm not doing anything right now?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing you can do is say, I'm really glad you told me. Just express gratitude that they're being honest with you. And then I would take it to, I know you're not interested right now, but when you were interested, when you were on the website or however they came to you, when you came to the open house, when you were on the website, what was causing you to be interested at that time? And what I find is people are more open to talking about their past interest than their current interest. And so you just get them talking about why they originally expressed interest in the first place. And there's a method of digging into that that's very effective. So, if I ask someone what made you want to downsize, or what made you want to buy a house, and they said, well, I wanted to downsize. The key is to take the word they just said and use it in your next question. It builds rapport. So you just say, okay, well, what makes you want to downsize? And through using their words, you're doing what's called keyword backtracking. But it builds rapport, but it also helps you truly get into the deeper motivation. A lot of times we ask questions and our questions are all over the place on different topics and we don't even realize it. If you listen to a recorded call of yourself, you might notice that. I did. And so the way to fix it is to use a word they just said in your next question. It keeps you on topic, it builds rapport, and it helps you truly go deeper. So the next question could be, well, what makes you want to downsize? And they might say, well, my kids are out of the house is so quiet, and I really want to save money. Okay. And maybe we would be tempted to stop there. But that's not enough to pull us through when they get nervous, when they don't want to write an offer, or they're currently right now feeling like, I don't know, I want to put this on hold. So the next question could be, what's important to you about saving money? What will that do for you? And now maybe they'll tell us that they'd like to retire early, but they really can't do that until they offload this bigger house. And that's why they want a smaller one. Now we're actually getting somewhere, and we can swing the conversation back to, I know we started this call and you said you're not interested right now, but I also just heard you say you really want to retire early and save money. If we could make that happen for you in today's market, would you be open to it? And that's where you can really get some traction with those leads that start off sounding colder or not interested, and really get them to re-engage their original interest.
It sounds like the way you build rapport is you pay attention. And
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to what, is that right? You got to pay attention to what people are saying, and I guess let the conversation guide the next question.
Yeah. And I don't know what we have time for here, James, but I'll tell you, there's a way to do it. Even I map it out. So we can role play it if you want, or I can just explain it. But to this day, I've been doing this since 2006, have a piece of paper. And if I talk to a lead, I start mapping out the conversation, because one, it allows me to make sure I'm really listening. If I'm writing what they're saying, there's no way I can't listen. I have to be listening. But two, what if we talk for 15 minutes? If I have all that written down, I can keyword backtrack the whole conversation, which is just building massive rapport. So there is actually a way to map it out on paper that people say things like, I don't know what it is about you. I've had other realtors call me and you're the only one I want to talk to. And it's really because you're keyword backtracking, you're listening, you're tracking the conversation, which is huge. If they feel like you care about them,
yeah,
that's the main thing right there.
I imagine you cover some of this in your coaching program. So yeah. Well, then we're not going to give them everything for free. They're going to get some stuff on here, and if they want to learn how to map out the conversation, they can hire you to do that.
There you go. There you go. Class 1. I give it to you class 1. So there you go.
That's right. Oh, good. Perfect. Okay. So, all right. Again, you and I both talk to agents every day. We talk to high producers every day, and I'm hearing high producers who are frustrated. It's almost like they feel as if, I don't know, they've lost it. That it's harder now. It just was so easy for a while that they kind of forgot the effort they took, that it took to build their business. What advice would you give to an agent whose mindset is a little kind of battled right now as they work to pursue some of these leads because it feels different right now?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It is fascinating talking to top level agents because they're in coaching, right? So they obviously care about their growth. We're talking to them, and they get on the call and they're discouraged. And I think the first thing is to evaluate, am I working? Am I actually making calls when I know I need to be making calls? And am I working on my skill? And if you can say yes to both of those things, rest assured what's likely going on is it's the market. As I talk with agents, we actually polled them recently. I posted a survey to 6,000 agents and just said, compared to your normal conversion rate in a normal market, what is your conversion now? And most of them are talking to 9 more people than they were previously to set an appointment. So if it was 20 to set an appointment, now it's 29. And this is the value of tracking your numbers. And there's just something that's helpful to know. It's not just me. If you're sitting home and you're not scripting, you're not making the calls, then maybe do feel a little bad about that, right? Because you're not in the right activities. But when you are in the right activities, and your audience probably is, they're watching this video right now, then chances are good it is what's happening in the market. Do not let that get in your head. And also, it's what you tell yourself. I used to tell myself, especially before those expired calls, I would say, this person is going to love me. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to get them laughing by the time we hang up. And one day they're going to look back and be so glad that I made this phone call. And I would say that throughout the day, making these calls. And it truly, I didn't necessarily believe it the first time I said it. Yet the more I said it, the more I actually believed it. And it did change the way I showed up in those calls, which then affected the results. So you really have to protect that mindset and then remind yourself, this is kind of everybody right now. You're not a bad agent. You haven't lost your skill. It's part of the market.
It's funny. I was talking to an agent a couple of weeks ago who said it's gone from 13 contacts to an appointment to 21.
Well,
I mean, that's right in the number that you gave. Another one told me it went from 35 to 55 to take a listing.
Yeah.
35 contacts to 55 contacts just for one listing. These are both high producing agents too that are experiencing this. So it's a good reminder. All right, so we're talking to more people. We've got to keep our mindset and remind us, hey, that's happening for a lot of people. It's just the way the market is right now. Gary talks about when the market shifts, there's fewer motivated people. So we've got to, increase our effort to go find them. That means our conversion matters. We've got to have some good systems and strategies around lead conversion. So what would you share around that?
Yeah, I think the main thing, especially the agents out there, I just had a question today from an agent I coach saying I'm having a challenge getting in the contacts I need because it's gone up. And through digging into that in the morning, which is really prime time for lead generation, he's dealing with current client issues. So one of the systems that I found really helps with that is when you meet with new clients, set the expectation right out of the gate that in the morning you are looking for buyers and sellers for them. So if they're a seller, I'm looking for buyers for your house. And if they're a buyer, explain to them, I'm looking for a house for you to buy, because that's what you're doing in the morning when you're doing your lead conversion. And you let them know my office hours are 12 o'clock until whatever that end time you want it to be, 7 o'clock, whatever it might be. And that's when I'm available. And it goes on your voicemail. You put up an out of office on your email. And basically you teach people when you are available. And what we find, I often find clients are a little hesitant to do that out of the gate, meaning agent clients who are going to implement this. And usually the next call, they'll say, my clients were thankful. They actually really liked knowing that my morning is dedicating looking for them. The other observation people took away is by the time, say someone called in the morning at 10 o'clock, a current client, and they're all worked up about something. By calling them back in the afternoon, usually the emotion had died down and they had solved the problem. And so it just kind of revealed all these things that I thought needed my attention during my lead gen hours actually didn't. And a lot of times they self-correct by the time the afternoon comes. So I think that's the biggest thing, James, is protecting your time and thinking of it like in the morning, I have a lead generation and lead conversion business. And then in the afternoon, I work with clients. And it's two separate things, and they have hours, and that really does help.
I love it. Something that I love about you too is that you like to track. So you want to know what to expect. And I imagine the clients you work with, they do a lot of tracking. So you've got a good look at just kind of some general idea of how many people should we be able to talk to in an hour? How many people should we be talking to before we can get an appointment? How long are our conversations going to be before we can truly uncover motivation? What
Yeah.
are just some general rule of thumb kind of data points that you could share so that people can see if they're on the right track?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I did not always love to track, trust me. However, I came to love it when I realized it lets me sleep at night knowing I'm doing the right things. That's when I really came to love tracking. So, as far as how many people you can typically talk to, we studied this, and this was hand dialing. So, it does not mean that you need a system, an automated system of some kind. People are having issues with that. This is hand dialing. You can talk to 6 people per hour. And I like to make that even simpler in my brain. My goal is to talk to one person every 10 minutes. And when I say talk to them, it could be, James, that someone picks up and says, "Oh, I'm not interested anymore," and they hang up on me. But they knew it was about real estate. So that was a contact. And so what we're really looking for is somewhere between 6 to 8 an hour. Now, once someone picks up and you're actually engaging in the conversation, I've timed this for years, and it takes 3 minutes to get true motivation. It doesn't sound that long, but trust me, when you're doing it, it can feel long if you're new to the methods. But just what I would recommend is get a timer. You can go on Amazon and buy one of those timers that you flip over, and buy a 3-minute timer, and just make a rule for yourself that I will not stop talking about motivation until that sand runs out, meaning I've been 3 minutes just on motivation. And then when you add in, okay, they're motivated, now I need to set the appointment, ask all of the logistical questions, set the appointment, all that stuff. On average, it takes a total of 12 minutes on average. The reason that's helpful, I used to talk a lot longer with leads, and I was losing a lot of time. There were a lot of people that needed my help that I never got to because I was wasting time talking to people that really we weren't going anywhere. So it just helped me to know 12 minutes is about how long a conversation should be. And if I'm going beyond that, who am I not helping that could be next? And making sure the conversation's relevant.
That's really good. So 6 to 8 contacts in an hour, 3 minutes to get to motivation,
Yeah.
and then 12 minutes if this is someone you need to schedule an appointment with. Is that basically right?
Yeah, that's it. And that includes motivation. And that I usually would time it if they were a buyer and a seller. So we had the most amount of logistical questions to ask them. What kind of house do you want to buy? What kind of
Yep.
house do you have to sell?
Yep.
And it usually worked out to be about 12 minutes.
Okay, really good. And then what are you finding, let's say for, contact to an appointment, understanding, of course, that different
Right.
people are calling different groups, right? Some are calling database, some are
Right.
calling expireds, and so on and so forth. Some are calling website leads. But do you have a
Right.
general rule of thumb that, hey, if I make X number of contacts a day, I should be able to schedule an appointment?
Yeah, that's really good. So it's 75 contacts to get a closing. So I'm kind of backing out a little bit. So 75 contacts will get you a closing in an average market. So again, you have to know your own numbers. Right now, I would bump it up closer to 100 because of the market shift. And then in order to set an appointment, it's usually one out of about 20 to 29. And again, it does depend on your lead source. I haven't heard it above 48. 48 is the highest I heard because of the lead source that person was calling. So to me, that just makes me feel better knowing, even if I'm having an off day, if I just call 50 people and get them to pick up the phone, I can have an appointment out of that. And setting 3 appointments usually allows me to have a closing. It usually takes 3 set to get one closing. And again, of course, this is where there's value in working on your conversion, because the better you are, the less numbers you need to get there. But that's about average.
Okay, here's what's great about this. You said 100 contacts right now to a closing.
Yeah.
75 is the number, but you're saying because of the state of the market, round it up to
Right.
100. All right.
Yeah.
So 36 deals a year is 3,600 contacts,
Yeah.
give or take. That's not quite right. It's more than that because it's 12 months in a year. Well, no, 36 times 100, 3,600 contacts. If you go do the math on that, that's like 75 people a week. That's less than what you got to do in bold. So
Okay.
if you do the bold number, then you're like practically guaranteed 3 deals a month after
Yeah.
some consistency if you're willing to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, then you change the goal and just let the contact number match up with that. For
Yeah.
someone like me, and I might be wired a little bit differently, Anna, but I like to be able to see momentum every day.
Yeah.
So again, if my goal is 33 deals a month,
Yeah.
that's 75 contacts a week. Man, I just had to sit down and I'm doing, 15, 20 contacts a day, and I check, 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 check. I may have not gotten something that day, but I knew I made momentum toward my goal. And this goes along with something we've said in here a lot: consistency over intensity. Just be consistent and do the right things. How important is it? How important is it just to get up and be consistent every single day?
Yes. Man, I love this. I'm so glad you talk about that a lot in here. I compare it a lot to football, right? So when we have or not a touchdown, when we gain yards, we have a play in football, we cheer, right? Because we move the ball forward. The fans don't sit around and say, "Oh man, he's terrible. He just gained 20 yards for our team. What a terrible football player." We don't do that because we understand movement forward is movement forward. We're closer to the end zone, right? And I think in real estate, we need to think of it that way. Maybe you talked to 20 people today and you didn't set an appointment yet. You will, because you're doing the right behavior. But did you get someone to agree to talk to a lender? Did you have someone stay on the phone with you and they were nicer this time than the last time you called them? That's called gaining yardage. And we are gaining ground with our leads every time that happens. And you do that every day, you will have consistent success. And one thing I love about breaking the goal down into a smaller chunk like that, just a daily goal, and you can even break it down into an hourly goal if you'd like, is every time you do something that you said you would do, your body releases dopamine. You know what dopamine helps you with is endurance and motivation. So, if I'm sitting here thinking, I love this conversation, I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk to 15 people 3 hours in the morning. I would make that of 5 people an hour goal. So from 9 to 10, I'm going to talk to 5 people. And when you hit that, just because you did something you said you would do, you talk to 5 people in your first hour, your body releases dopamine, and that's going to help you keep going. And you just keep doing that every day. You'll be surprised how much you accomplish. So I would just encourage everyone listening, if consistency is challenging for you, you like a lot of change and variety, really start thinking, I'm gaining yardage, even with the ones that aren't setting necessarily. I'm moving them forward. That's progress. And we would celebrate that on a football field, and we're going to celebrate that here in our real estate business.
Yeah, we get excited for singles in baseball and home runs. And so you're exactly right. I finished the math out. 6 contacts an hour for 2.5 hours is 36 transactions based on the math that you gave us. And you said we could do 6 to 8 contacts in an hour, even if we're doing 3 minutes to get to motivation and 12 minutes. I mean, I love stuff like this because it allows, in a business that is, you feel whether you feel success in the moment, even though success is measured over time, right? That's what's weird about our business. Success in this business is measured over a long period of time, but you're judging your success in an individual moment. So to know, am I winning in an individual moment, can help make you feel real good. All right, last question before we got to kick it.
Okay.
If you're sitting down with an agent right now and they are behind goal right now, and as we wrap up Q1, what's your piece of advice for them to get back on track?
Yeah, I'd want to find out why. And it's probably boiling down to the amount of people they're talking to. So it would be, the question would be, what do we need to do to protect your lead generation time? And actually, the question I like to ask people know what they need to do. It's, if someone were watching your business and they couldn't talk to you, they could only observe you, what would they say you should keep doing forever because it's working? And what's the one thing they should tell you that you should stop immediately? And James, it's fascinating. People always have an answer to that question. And it's usually the thing that that individual needs to work on because they know. So what's the thing, if someone was watching your business, they would say, you need to stop that immediately. It's hurting you. And you need to keep doing that because it's so good. You don't ever stop. And that will probably lead you in the right direction.
I love it. Good stuff. Tell them one more time about your program, your fast track program with MAPS, and how they can enroll.
Yeah, awesome. So go to megaleadconversion.com. The class starts May 10th, and it's all about lead generation and conversion. Excuse me. I'm so passionate. I'm choked up about it.
No doubt.
But it's all about how to have relationship-based sales. So basically, how do you accomplish sales but not be salesy and obnoxious about it? Like, how are you successful through a relational way, which is what Gary talks about all the time, as well as the business of lead gen lead conversion. So check it out at megaleadconversion.com. And then we do have a special code for people in your group.
Yeah, so if you're an Inspire member, we've got a promo code for you that we'll put in the Inspire Facebook group and in our Saturday morning email. Anna, thanks so much for joining us. It was good stuff. You were great
Yeah.
on your panel on this at Family Reunion, and you're giving them exactly do this, do this, do this. It's A, B, C, D, and just follow the model, and success will come your way. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you so very much.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thanks for having me, and thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye-bye.